Differentiating with depth and complexity is really easy. And at J. Taylor Education, we've made your job even easier with these thinking guides. These are student workbooks that take all of the guesswork out of how to use depth and complexity with quality graphic organizers. They're open-ended, they are easy to differentiate. So let's take a look. Let's talk about how to use one of these to guide your students through a narrative prompt. Just like any mini lesson, I want to have my own graphic organizer that I'm working through as I guide my students. And so I might say, today we are going to focus on how to draft a plan for a narrative. And, I'm thinking about sports. Sports were a really big part of my life all through middle school and high school. And I'm wondering, have you ever experienced maybe a moment in sports like I have that was exciting, a little nerve-wracking, maybe a big game, a tryout? Something unforgettable happened. So today I'm going to walk you through the planning process, this pattern that I would use as a writer so that I can plan out my narrative, and you're going to do the same using one of your experiences. So I've decided that the topic of my narrative that I'm going to use for my students as the exemplar is trying out for soccer, because that was a big moment of time in my middle school career. And so I want to walk them through this pattern to really draft their narrative in a way that pulls out their ideas and makes them think critically using depth and complexity. So first I would tell my students, we're going to start with the origin icon because this is where our story begins. We're going to focus on the characters and the settings and really think about who is a part of this story. Is it me, a teammate, a coach? Maybe my family is there cheering me on. And then I want to think about when and where the story happens, so really honing in on the setting. And so if this is a soccer tryout, then the setting could be the school soccer field on a sunny afternoon. And I'm going to use the origin icon to help me dig into the roots of the story. So next I want to walk the students through the paradox, thinking about the wish or the conflict or the problem of the story. And so for me, I had some paradoxical feelings at that time. I really wanted to impress my coach and make the team, but I was also nervous because the last time that we had tryouts, I did not do so well. I had missed a key goal, and my friend Jess had blocked that, and I was just worried that I was going to embarrass myself again. And so that's the part that they would fill in here, thinking about the paradox of both the problem, maybe the conflict, and the wish. For the next part of this pattern graphic organizer, I want to start thinking about the rising action and really about how over time, what contributed to what will eventually be the climax. So maybe I talk about what happened first, second, third, fourth, thinking about that timeline, that progression. I arrived at tryouts early and saw everyone warming up. I saw Coach Donna, she blew the whistle, and we had to do some drills. And then, maybe my first few passes were shaky and I was even more nervous, really building that anticipation over time. And then finishing off the rising action with, coming down to the scrimmage, that last final part of tryouts. So the next part of this pattern graphic organizer that I want to walk my students through as an exemplar is the climax, thinking about the events and how they converged together, and those key moments and pieces where the stories meet. And so for me, for my climax for the story, I'm going to talk about that last part of the scrimmage. And I got the ball again, and I maybe dribbled past two defenders, and then I lined up the shot, and I scored just as the whistle blew. So you want to think about what events came together from that rising action that contribute to the climax. And then the final portion of this graphic organizer, I would tell the students, we're thinking about the solution, the lesson learned, the big idea. What was my story mostly about? Was I trying to teach a lesson? So I might say the solution, at the end of the day, Coach Donna posted the list and my name was on it. I made the team. Awesome. I also want to bring in a lesson that I learned. So I might tell the students, I learned that day that even when you're nervous, if you focus your effort and you stay determined, that can lead to success. And then I would ask them to think about their story and how it ends and how they could show that they were successful or they learned that lesson at the end. Now, as far as mini lesson goes, that was short, sweet, simple. It didn't take a lot of time. I was able to grab that graphic organizer from my students' workbook, and we were able to walk through each piece together using the icons to really hone in on the different pieces and parts of the story. And then they're able to not just know a little bit more about me as a teacher, but see how easy it is to craft a draft for their unique story. And then next we would take this and put it into their very first draft, and sky's the limit.